My name is Alina and I'm 31 years old. Last Saturday, my mother stood up at my brother's baby shower, raised her champagne glass high, smiled warmly at everyone in the room, and called me selfish. She said it casually, politely, like it was just a harmless little joke between family members. Then she announced, with pride glowing in her eyes, that she and my father had paid for the entire baby shower using their hard-earned savings. She emphasized those last two words, letting them hang in the air like a badge of honor. The room went completely quiet. Every single head slowly turned toward me. I could feel their eyes burning into my skin, the judgment, the confusion. The silent question hanging heavy in the air like smoke. What did she do wrong? I sat there, frozen in my chair, the familiar heat of shame crawling up my neck, and I smiled back. Because I knew something they didn't. 3 words later, my mother's smile would disappear completely, and nothing in my family would ever be the same again. If you've ever been the responsible one in your family, the one who gives quietly and gets forgotten, the one who sacrifices without recognition, you'll understand exactly why this story ends the way it does. Growing up, my family cared deeply about how things looked from the outside. My father, Frank, built his entire identity around being the provider. He loved saying things like, "I take care of my family," especially when other people were listening. At barbecues, at church, at my grandmother's Sunday dinners, he'd lean back in his chair with that satisfied smile and talk about how he'd never let his family go without. My mother, Linda, cared even more about appearances. To her, our family wasn't just a family, it was a brand, a carefully curated image that needed constant maintenance. We had to look successful, stable, perfect. Our Christmas cards were professionally photographed. Our lawn was always the greenest on the block. My mother would spend hours selecting the perfect outfit for family gatherings, making sure every detail communicated the right message. We have it all together. And then there was my younger brother, Ethan. Ethan was naturally charming, effortlessly funny, and confident in a way I never managed to be. Teachers loved him, relatives adored him. He could walk into any room and immediately become its center. At family dinners, everyone would lean in when Ethan told a story. When he laughed, everyone laughed with him. He could do no wrong. I wasn't ignored exactly. That would be too simple, too easy to name. I was managed. I was the child who didn't need much, the one who didn't complain, the one who handled things on her own. My parents would say these things about me to relatives, and everyone would nod approvingly. What a mature girl, what a responsible daughter. At least that's what they told me. Back then, I believed it meant I was strong, independent, capable. I didn't realize it meant I was being trained to disappear. When Ethan forgot his homework, my mother would drive it to school with a smile. When I forgot mine, I was told it was a learning experience about responsibility. When Ethan wanted to join the baseball team, my parents rearranged their schedules to make it work. When I wanted to take art classes, I was told we needed to be practical about money. The pattern was so subtle, so consistent, that I internalized it completely. I learned that my needs were negotiable, that my presence was conditional, that love was something you earned by being low maintenance. I became an expert at making myself smaller. When I was 22, I was working full-time at a medical billing office while finishing my business degree at night school. It was exhausting. I'd wake up at 6, work until 5, grab dinner from a drive-thru, and head straight to class. I'd get home around 10:30, study for an hour or two, then collapse into bed. Weekends were for catching up on assignments and picking up extra shifts when I could. I wasn't rich. My apartment was tiny, just a studio with a Murphy bed and a kitchen the size of a closet. But I was proud of myself. For the first time in my life, I was building something that was entirely mine. Then one night, my phone rang at 11:43 p.m. I remember the exact time because I was studying for a finance exam and I'd been checking the clock obsessively, calculating how many hours of sleep I could get if I went to bed at midnight. It was my dad, Alina. His voice sounded wrong, thin, shaky. My dad never sounded like that. "Dad, what's wrong? I need your help," he said quietly. That alone scared me. My father, Frank the provider, Frank who took care of everyone, never asked for help. There was a long pause. I could hear him breathing, gathering courage. "But you can't tell anyone," he continued. "Especially not your mother yet." My stomach dropped, because in my family, secrets were never small. "Dad, you're scaring me. What happened?" His voice broke. "It's Ethan." Ethan had collapsed during basketball practice at school. One minute he was running drills, the next he was on the ground, unconscious. The coach called 911 immediately. At the hospital, they discovered an undiagnosed heart condition. He needed emergency surgery. They operated that same night. There were complications, an infection, more procedures. Extended hospital stays. Ethan survived, thank God. After 2 weeks in the ICU and another week in recovery, he came home, weak but alive, but the medical bills were devastating. Even with insurance, my parents were facing over $80,000 in debt. Hospital bills, specialist fees, medications, follow-up appointments. The costs kept coming, relentless and crushing. My dad explained all of this in a whisper, like he was afraid someone might overhear. "Your mom, she can't handle this," he said. "She's barely holding it together. If people find out we're struggling financially, Alina, you know how she is, it would destroy her." I did know. My mother's entire sense of self was built on the foundation of our family's perceived success. "What do you need?" I asked, though part of me already knew. "You're the only one who can help us," he said. "You're strong, you've always been strong." The next morning, my mom called me. Her voice was soft, fragile in a way I'd never heard before. "Alina, honey," she began, and I could tell she'd been crying. "We never wanted to ask you for anything. You've worked so hard to build your life, but—" She trailed off. I waited. "You're strong," she said finally. "You always have been, and right now we need that strength." Then she explained what they needed, $1,800 a month to help pay down the medical debt. To protect the house from potential foreclosure, to keep the family stable, to keep everything quiet. I pulled up my budget on my laptop while she talked. After rent, utilities, groceries, gas, student loan payments, and basic necessities, I had maybe $2,200 left each month. This would take almost everything. I'd have to cut deeper. No more occasional coffee shop treats, no more replacing worn-out clothes, no more emergency fund contributions, but I said yes, because I believed that's what family does. That's what strong people do. They sacrifice without complaint. I set up an automatic transfer that same week. Every month on the first, $1,800 would leave my checking account and land in my parents' family savings account. And my parents promised it was temporary, just until they got back on their feet. Maybe a year, 2 at most. Temporary lasted 9 years, 9 years of overtime shifts I said yes to when my body begged for rest. 9 years of skipped vacations because I couldn't afford it right now. 9 years of living in that same small studio apartment because it made sense to be practical. 9 years of watching my coworkers buy houses, get married, take trips to Europe, while I calculated whether I could afford name-brand cereal that month. I got better jobs, I worked harder, I took on freelance projects on weekends, I said yes to every opportunity for advancement. And every time my income increased, somehow the amount my parents needed increased too. At first, it was just the medical bills. That made sense. That felt legitimate. Then it became rebuilding savings so they wouldn't face another crisis. Then it was keeping the house stable, repairs, property taxes, unexpected expenses. The requests became assumptions. They stopped asking, they started expecting. And the strangest part, they never talked about it, not in public, not with Ethan, not with relatives. At family gatherings, my dad would still boast about being the provider. My mom would still post Facebook photos of their blessed life. Ethan would talk about how grateful he was for our supportive parents. And I would sit there, smiling, invisible. It was like my support didn't exist, like I didn't exist. My financial contribution was a secret, but my absence from family milestones was loudly noticed. Alina couldn't make it to Thanksgiving, my mother would sigh to relatives. She's so busy with work. Yes, busy working overtime to fund your lifestyle. Alina didn't come to Ethan's graduation party. She's always so independent. Yes, independent because you taught me my needs don't matter. While I was sending $1,800 every single month, life went on for everyone else. Ethan recovered fully. His heart condition stabilized with medication. He graduated college. Got a good job at a tech startup. He got a new car for reliability, my parents said proudly, helping him with the down payment. He moved into a nice 2-bedroom apartment in a trendy neighborhood because the market is tough for young people. He traveled to Thailand with friends. He went to music festivals. He lived. And I was proud of him, genuinely. He was my little brother. I loved seeing him happy and healthy, but no one noticed what it cost me. My 30th birthday passed with a text message from my mom. "Happy birthday, sweetheart. Sorry we can't celebrate today. Ethan has a work thing and we promised we'd help him move some furniture. We'll celebrate soon." We never did. My 31st birthday was similar, a card in the mail, no call. Family gatherings happened without me because I was probably busy or seemed like she needed space. I wasn't busy, I wasn't seeking space, I was just forgotten. One night, unable to sleep, I did something I'd been avoiding for years. I calculated it. I opened Excel and entered every payment, every transfer, every contribution I could remember. The number that appeared made me physically nauseous. Over $170,000, gone, and still not a single public thank you, not a single acknowledgement. Not even a private "we couldn't have done this without you." I told myself it didn't matter, that love didn't need recognition, that real generosity was silent. I was lying to myself. Then I met Noah. We worked in the same office building, different companies, same coffee shop in the lobby. For weeks, we did that polite stranger dance, eye contact, small smiles, the occasional "excuse me." One day, we both reached for the last blueberry muffin. "You take it," I said immediately. "Are you sure?" he asked. "You were here first." "No, really, I don't need it." He looked at me curiously. "Everyone needs a muffin sometimes." We split it, we talked. He was calm, observant, kind. The kind of person who actually listened when you spoke instead of just waiting for his turn to talk. We started having coffee together, then lunch, then dinner. Noah was a graphic designer, creative, thoughtful, and completely unlike anyone in my family. He asked questions, real questions, not performative ones. One evening, about 6 months into our relationship, we were at his apartment. I was working on my laptop, responding to a family email thread about an upcoming holiday dinner. "Alina," he said gently, "when do you plan to start your life?" I looked up, confused. "What do you mean, I have a life? Do you?" He wasn't being cruel, he was genuinely asking. "When was the last time you did something just for yourself? When was the last time you said no to your family?" I laughed uncomfortably. "That's what family is, you show up. You help, and when do they show up for you?" The question hung in the air. I had no answer. He tried a different approach. "Do you have savings?" "Of course," I said automatically. Then I actually checked my account. After 9 years of working nonstop, climbing the corporate ladder, taking every extra shift and project I could find, I had $9,247. No retirement account. No emergency fund, no safety net, just $9,247 and a lot of fatigue. Noah didn't get angry, he didn't lecture me, he just said very softly, "Alina, I think your family taught you that being useful was the same as being loved." That sentence stayed with me for weeks. It burrowed into my brain and wouldn't leave. Was he right? Had I confused utility with worth, service with belonging? I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. A few months later, my mom called, her voice bubbling with excitement. "Alina, amazing news. Ethan and Kayla are pregnant. Can you believe it? We're going to be grandparents." I was genuinely happy. "That's wonderful, Mom. Congratulations. We're throwing them a baby shower, a big one. They deserve something really special." She listed the venue, an upscale event space downtown, the decorations, the caterer. The photographer, it sounded expensive, very expensive. Then she said with unmistakable pride, "Your father and I are paying for everything we've saved for moments like this." Saved. That word felt like a punch to my stomach. "Mom," I said carefully, "where is the money coming from?" Her tone changed immediately, sharp, defensive. "What kind of question is that? I'm just asking, why are you being difficult? Why can't you just be happy for your brother?" "I am happy for him, I just want to know," she hung up on me. I sat there, phone in hand, something fundamental shifting inside me. For 9 years, I'd been sending money to a family savings account. I'd never questioned where it went. I'd never asked for an accounting, I just trusted. That night I couldn't sleep. Noah found me at 2 in the morning, staring at my laptop. "What's wrong?" he asked. "I need to know something," I said, "and I think I'm going to hate the answer." The next day, I made an appointment at the credit union where the family savings account was held. I'd never been there in person. I'd only set up the automatic transfer online years ago, but my name was on the account as a contributor, which meant I had a right to information. The account specialist's name was Ms. Carter. She was professional, cautious, probably in her 50s with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. I explained that I'd been making monthly contributions and needed confirmation of my total contributions for my personal financial records. She pulled up the account and studied it for a long moment. Then she looked at me. "Alina," she said slowly, carefully, "you've been the primary contributor to this account for 9 years. I know. I need the exact total." She clicked through several screens. "Your total contributions are $194,400. The number hit me like a physical blow. It was even more than I'd calculated. "And Ms. Carter continued, hesitating, "There was a large withdrawal recently, 2 weeks ago, $18,000. My hands were shaking. "For what?" She checked the notes attached to the transaction. "Event deposit." The memo says E's baby shower. E's, Ethan and Kayla, her last name started with S. They were using my money, my sacrifices, my skipped vacations, my tiny apartment, my non-existent savings to throw a party, and taking full credit for it. "Is there anything else you need, Ms. Carter asked gently. I think she could see that I was barely holding it together. "Yes," I said, "I need to know how to stop the automatic transfers." She walked me through it. It took 5 minutes. 9 years of payments, 5 minutes to stop them. I thanked her and walked out to my car on shaking legs. I sat in the parking lot and cried for 20 minutes. Then I went home and told Noah everything. He held me while I fell apart. Then he said something I'll never forget. "You're not crying because you're weak. You're crying because you finally let yourself see the truth. That takes more strength than anything you've done for them." The baby shower was beautiful, of course it was. $18,000 buys a lot of beauty. The venue was stunning, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, elegant floral centerpieces, a dessert table that looked like art. There was a professional photographer, a live acoustic guitarist, and enough champagne to float a boat. Everyone was dressed up, smiling, celebrating. I wore a simple blue dress and tried to blend into the background. My usual position. Noah was beside me, his hand occasionally squeezing mine in silent support. Ethan and Kayla looked genuinely happy. Kayla's baby bump was just starting to show. They were glowing. My mother moved through the room like a proud hostess, accepting compliments, laughing graciously. My father stood near the bar, chest puffed out, telling anyone who'd listen about how they'd wanted to do something really special for the kids. Then my mother tapped her champagne glass with a fork. The room fell quiet. "I just want to say a few words," she began, her voice warm and full of emotion. "Family is everything to Frank and me, everything. We believe in showing up for the people we love, in making sacrifices, in being there no matter what." People nodded. Someone said, "Amen." "We've spent years building our savings, planning for moments like this. We wanted Ethan and Kayla to have something special as they start this new chapter." More nods. Approving smiles, then her eyes found me. For just a second, something sharp flashed in them. Of course, she continued, her tone shifting subtly, some people have different priorities. Some people don't understand what it means to really show up for family. A few people laughed uncomfortably. I felt their eyes turning toward me. The familiar heat of shame rushed to my face. My hands started to shake, but something was different this time. I wasn't a 22-year-old girl anymore, desperate for approval. I was 31, I had spent 9 years disappearing, and I was done. I stood up, the room went very quiet. "Thank you, Mom," I said, my voice surprisingly calm. "I just want to clarify one thing before we continue celebrating." My father's eyes widened. "Alina, this isn't the time," I ignored him. I turned toward Ms. Carter, who I'd invited as my guest. She'd seemed like someone who cared about the truth, and I was right. "Ms. Carter," I said clearly, "you work at First Community Credit Union, correct?" She nodded, looking slightly nervous. "And you have access to the account labeled Miller Family Savings, correct?" "Yes." "In the last 9 years, who has been making the monthly deposits into that account, Ms.?" Carter cleared her throat. She looked at my mother, then at me. "According to our records," she said professionally, "Alina Miller has been the sole regular contributor, making monthly deposits of $1,800 for approximately 9 years. You could have heard a pin drop. And the recent $18,000 withdrawal for this event," I continued, my voice steady, "came from that same account, correct?" "That's correct." I looked at my mother. Her face had gone completely white. I looked at my father. He seemed frozen, his mouth slightly open. I looked at Ethan. He was staring at me with an expression I couldn't read. Then I said 3 words, "Payments stop today." For a moment, nobody moved, nobody breathed. Then my mother found her voice. "How dare you," she hissed. "How dare you ruin this day with your selfishness?" "Selfishness," I repeated, the word that had started all of this. "We took you in, we raised you. We gave you everything, you gave me everything." I laughed, and it sounded broken even to my own ears. "Mom, I have given you $194,400 over 9 years. I have worked myself to exhaustion. I have lived in a studio apartment while you used my money to maintain your lifestyle, and you have never, not once, acknowledged it publicly." "We needed help," my father said, his voice rising. "Ethan's medical bills were paid off 6 years ago," I said. "I checked, I called the hospital. The debt was cleared in 2019. My mother's face went from white to red. "That money was for the family?" "No," I said firmly. "That money was mine, given freely because I loved you and wanted to help, but you turned it into an expectation, an entitlement. And you never even said thank you." Ethan stood up, his face pale. "Alina, wait, that money, all that money was because of my surgery." I looked at my little brother. He looked genuinely shocked. "Yes," I said softly. "I didn't know," he whispered. "I swear to God I didn't know." I believed him. Looking at his face, the horror and guilt there, I absolutely believed him. "I never wanted you to feel guilty, Ethan. That's why I agreed to keep it quiet. But I gestured at our parents. "They didn't just hide the money, they hid me. They erased my contributions so they could stay the heroes of the story." Tears filled Ethan's eyes. "Alina, I'm so sorry. If I had known." "I know," I said. "This isn't about you." I turned back to my parents. "I'm not ruining you," I said quietly. "I'm not destroying the family. I'm just finally choosing myself. I'm done being invisible. I'm done disappearing so you can feel generous." My mother stepped forward, her voice desperate now. "If you stop, we'll lose the house, we'll lose everything. You can't do this to us." "I already have," I said. Noah stood and took my hand. We walked toward the door. My mother followed us, her voice getting louder, more frantic. "You're selfish. You're ungrateful after everything we've done for you." I turned one last time. "Mom," I said, "you called me selfish in front of all these people because I didn't show up the way you wanted. But I've been showing up for 9 years in ways no one saw. The difference is I'm done performing. I'm done pretending your version of family is healthy. You'll regret this," she shouted. "Maybe," I said, "but at least I'll regret it with money in my savings account." Noah and I left. Behind us, I could hear the murmur of shocked conversations starting, the baby shower dissolving into chaos. But I didn't look back. The messages came fast and furious. My mother, you've destroyed this family. I hope you're happy. My father, your mother is devastated. How could you do this to her? Various relatives who'd heard the story secondhand. Family is supposed to support each other. This is so disrespectful. I blocked most of them. But I didn't block Ethan. 3 days after the baby's shower, he called. Can we meet? He asked. His voice sounded raw. Please. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our apartments. Ethan looked terrible, exhausted, guilty, older somehow. I talked to Dad, he said immediately. I made him show me everything, the medical bills, the account statements. All of it? Ethan, you don't have to. Yes, I do, he interrupted. Alina, I had no idea, I swear. They told me the bills were being handled through insurance and payment plans. I had no idea that it was you. I believed him. I had always believed him. They used my surgery as an excuse, he continued, his voice thick with emotion. They took your money and they kept taking it. Even after the bills were paid, they used you. I know, I'm so sorry. Tears rolled down his face. I'm so fucking sorry. If I had known, you would have stopped them, I finished. I know, but they made sure you didn't know. That was the point. He wiped his eyes. Kayla and I talked. We're paying you back? Ethan, no, yes, he said firmly. I don't know how long it'll take, but we're paying you back, all of it, or as much as we can. It's not negotiable. I started crying then. Because this acknowledgement, this validation was what I'd needed for 9 years. Thank you, I whispered. And there's something else, Ethan said, when the baby comes. I want them to know the truth. I want my kid to know what real family looks like and what it doesn't look like. 3 months later, I opened my first real savings account. Not one where my money disappeared every month. A real one, just for me. I deposited my first full paycheck, all of it, and watched the balance sit there untouched. It felt like freedom. I still love my parents, that's the complicated truth. Love doesn't just disappear because someone hurts you, but love doesn't mean self-destruction anymore. It doesn't mean silent sacrifice. It doesn't mean accepting crumbs and calling it a feast. I'm in therapy now, working through the patterns, learning that my needs matter, that I'm allowed to take up space. Noah and I are talking about moving in together, maybe getting a dog, building a life that's ours, not a life spent funding someone else's dreams. Ethan visits sometimes. He brings Kayla. We're rebuilding something real, not based on obligation or guilt, but on actual mutual respect. My parents and I haven't spoken in months. Maybe we will someday, maybe we won't. I'm learning to be okay with that. If you're reading this and something feels familiar, if you recognize yourself in my story, please hear this. You are not selfish for choosing yourself. You are not cruel for setting boundaries. You are not ungrateful for wanting acknowledgement. And you don't owe anyone your silence. For 9 years, I disappeared to make other people comfortable. The day I stopped was the day my real life began. You are more than what you give. You are more than your usefulness. You are worthy of love that sees you. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop making yourself small. Thank you for staying until the end. Remember, you deserve to take up space in your own life.